I am the Data Youth Robotics elementary school and middle school coordinator, and I was a coordinator last year, and I am this year.
And I'm Steve Harvey. I'm the founding mentor of 1678, and I was here when we started our schools program, so I'm here to just answer questions and support Henry.
Okay, yeah, so today we're going to be talking about youth robotics programs in schools specifically. So, next slide. Okay, so just a brief outline. First, we're going to touch on why we should have youth robotics at schools. Then we're going to move into what a potential scholastic youth robotics program could look like. Then we're going to talk about how you can implement it. So, like logistically, the best way to go about creating a program. Then we're going to talk about how we run our 1678 Davis schools program. And then we're going to talk about some hurdles that you're probably going to face as you create and run one of these programs, and then some potential solutions that we found work. Okay, so getting into why you should run a scholastic youth robotics program. So there are many reasons, but some of the most important that we found are, firstly, that you can provide underprivileged students with STEM exposure. So, you have your league program and your summer camp maybe, but those really target students that have, networking or connections through like their parents. But by creating a program at schools, you offer robotics opportunities to students that don't have those connections or parent support. And so you can still inspire students that don't have, the privilege that some other students might, right? And it's all free. Another point is that younger students can look up to the members on their team, the student mentors. So it's both a positive for the student mentors on your team and for the younger students. Team members can work on their leadership skills and work on being a role model, and the younger students can be inspired by having someone to look up to. So it's really a win-win on both sides. It's also a potential FRC recruitment pipeline. So the way that many of these programs are organized, the way that we organize our program is like competition-based. So it's very similar to FRC. And so students that do this program then want to pursue similar opportunities in high school. So for example, I was a member of the DYR schools program when I was in elementary school, and now I run the program. So that's one example. You also form stronger ties between your team and the school district and larger community. So by giving back to the district and schools specifically, your community will support you more, and the district will support you more.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that the school district and your schools are probably very interested in supporting disadvantaged students. That's one of their goals. That's one of their, it kind of almost mandated that they need to do that. And so if you provide a program that can help them do that, that's going to really make you look good in their eyes. And having strong ties with your district is helping your FRC team too, because I assume your district, you need the support of your district for that operation as well, right? Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to move into what a potential youth robotics program in schools could look like. So here's what we found has worked, and just like a potential outline. So you'll be meeting like one day a week. We found that that's really great because you're not overwhelming the students by making them meet every single day a week, but you're still being consistent. An hour and a half after school also works because you have time for the students to work on their robots while also having time to clean up. It's not a super big time commitment. We've also found that providing student mentors from your team allows your team to be more hands-on, and you're not just giving them the materials or the funding for the program and just sending it off to the schools. You're actually being in the program, and you're more involved that way. And then mentors can also help technically, which allows the teacher supervisors to be less hands-on, right? Because you don't want your mentors to be responsible for the students, you want a teacher supervisor who's experienced and trained with helping manage students to be there, which is why we want teachers to supervise the program. But many teachers don't have the background in STEM to be able to help the students, and so having a mentor there or multiple mentors can help provide the technical support. And then students can form teams, so instead of one student working on one robot, you can have multiple students work on a robot so that it's more of a collaborative experience. And then they will build, design, and program their robot throughout the program.
Okay, no, well, I could mention it now. So
Sure, go ahead.
one of the reasons that you want to keep it to 1 day a week and also provide student mentors is you don't want to we're going to talk about this later, but you don't want to overwhelm the teacher, make it seem to them like they're going to have to put a lot of time in or effort in, because teachers are already overworked, right? And you need a teacher to help you run this program, so
yeah,
that all helps.
Then, like I said, students will be working on their robots throughout the year, and they'll be competing at the year-end competition. So the way that we run it is focused around that competition, which has the students, they have something to build towards. They have a goal, which helps keep the program driven. And so then all of the schools from across the district will compete in this year-end competition. And then it drives home this idea of friendly competition, like gracious professionalism, very similar to FIRST. And then we find that after school works the best because our student mentors are available after school. They're able to provide the most support then. Yeah, feel free to take a seat anywhere. And then, as I was saying, in-school variations also work. We've actually had in the past, we've had teachers want to take the initiative and use some of the curriculum during their classes, but then we can't offer that student mentor support because our team members are obviously busy, they're in school, and so we find that after school typically works better. And then you'll typically need to use some sort of brand, that could be VEX IQ or VEX, it could be FLL, and then that just has a setup kind of system that you can implement in all the schools instead of having to create your own program, I guess. You can just use it in schools.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize the power and strength of a competitive-based program, which is what we're in, right, with FRC. What excites everyone is the competition and getting something built for that. Teachers often want to know when you start a new program, what's the curriculum, right? Because they're all about lesson planning and homework and stuff like that. This is an opportunity to have a teacher not work with that kind of a system, work with a system where you basically have this open-ended approach, right? You have this open-ended challenge, just like we do in FRC. And teachers actually welcome that because it doesn't put as much strain on them.
Yep. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how you can actually implement, logistically, how you can implement a youth robotics program in schools. So the main thing you're probably going to need to do is reach out to schools. You're going to need to find interested schools that are able to bear the weight of the program. Most schools are going to be open to providing this opportunity to their elementary schoolers, but they might not have the teacher support, the funding, or the space to provide it, which is where you need to come up with solutions to solve those problems. So finding a teacher that can supervise the program is critical. That's kind of one of the main cruxes the program relies on. And so a couple ways to do that is you can leverage your relationship with other teachers and staff. So for example, if you know your 4th grade elementary school teacher, and you can reach out to them and say, hey, would you be willing to supervise this program? And maybe they're not available, but they can recommend another teacher who would be open, right? So leveraging your relationships is a great way to get into the system and find available staff members. And then cold emailing is also an option. It's just obviously less good compared to using your relationships, just because principals get a lot of emails and they're not going to respond immediately. And then you may need to provide robotics materials in the beginning. Unless you have some sort of sibling program that is already running that you can leverage, you'll need to sort of build your collection of these robotics program materials from scratch. So you can slowly build that up, starting at maybe 1 school and then moving to 2 over time. Okay. Another thing that is critical to the program success is finding student mentors on your team that can volunteer. And so one acronym that we like to think about is WIFM, which is What's in it for me. This is the idea that student mentors will be motivated if they know what they're going to get out of the program. And so some potential like solutions for this could be like volunteer hours for those clubs like NHS and CSF. It could be like thinking about college app activities and things like that. Or it could be just giving back to the community and trying to bring robotics to more schools, right? There's also funding to think about. So most schools don't have the funding, they don't have the money to just start another program. And so you may need to dip into the team's money, or you can go to the district or PTA to get stipends or discretionary funds, which can motivate teachers and get you like materials for the program. Okay, so now that I've talked about a potential way to implement it, we're going to talk about the citrus version of the program, so everything that we do to make our Davis Youth Robotics Schools program a success. So we run the program primarily as an after-school program. Like I talked about, it allows the student mentors to be available during that time slot and makes our team more hands-on. We use VEX IQ products. We find that VEX's format of like the competition-based program that we talked about earlier is really great. And like the new game being released every year, it gives the students something to work towards, right? And it's also very similar to FIRST. And then we host informational sessions for all of the teachers and staff that want to come, just to talk about our plans for the new year, and give them information on our availability for student mentors that year, or our material amount for like fields or game elements or things like that. Just communication overall. And then we, as a part of our funding, we offer to match VEX IQ kit purchases 1-to-1. So if a school purchases a VEX IQ kit, then we will purchase one and donate it to them. And then we also donate fields and game elements, depending on demands. So we run another program called DYR Events, which focuses on like creating these tournaments, like these official VEX IQ tournaments that our league program can participate in. And so we can kind of leverage off of that program, and during the spring, when that program's not running, we can use the fields and the game elements from that program and then funnel it into the schools program. And then we typically run one year-end tournament, just because we haven't had too many schools in the past, but this year we are attempting to run multiple tournaments because of the increased number of schools that we are kind of impacting the program, and the number of students. This will give students more of an opportunity to compete in these friendly competitions and let them actually use the robots that they've been building for so long, right, in an actual competition. So rather than playing like 3 matches, they can play 7, something like that. And then we heavily encourage our mentors to volunteer. So on our team, there's a big volunteer culture. So we volunteer at events like this, volunteer, like most members of our team volunteer for either the league program or for the schools program. So that's a really great way to get volunteer members. Yeah. And then here are some hurdles and potential solutions. So hurdle number 1 is a lack of teacher support. So like Steve was saying earlier, many teachers don't have the time to supervise pro bono. They're overwhelmed with all of their work, and so they usually don't have time to just, without any motivation or incentive, volunteer for this program. So some potential solutions for that are, again, the WIFM acronym, what's in it for me. We're trying to find ways to incentivize teachers. One potential way is attempt to get support from the district in the form of stipends. We've done this in the past, but it's extremely difficult to do because the district doesn't usually have money to throw around. But it is a potential solution because teachers are more likely to volunteer if they have money, right? And then we can also request parent supervisors. So obviously teachers are trained to look after students, and so a teacher supervisor is our first pick. But if there are no teacher supervisors available, if there are no teacher supervisors available, then we can essentially leverage like the parents that have the kids in the program and have them supervise. So for example, last year we invited a lot of DJUSD or our district staff to the competition, just so they can see like what a competition's all about, what the program's about, and they can get inspired to want to participate next year, or I guess this year.
This is huge, actually. So this applies to not just your youth program, if you're going to start a youth program, but your whole FRC program. Inviting either board members or your administration or even parents to competitions is the best way to get people excited about FRC or get excited about what your team does or what you're planning to do in the schools. Most people, when they come to a competition like the one here, their jaws drop. They just go, I can't believe high school kids are doing this, you know. And even if it's for your school's program, they get a sense of the craziness of FRC competition, which relates to the craziness of VEX competitions.
Yep, exactly. So hurdle number 2 is a lack of student mentors. So many high school students don't have the time to mentor. They're busy, you know, doing other high school activities. And so what are some potential solutions to finding more mentors? So you can make the school like meetings work around the mentor schedules. So for example, our team requests like an availability of all of our mentors for the year, starting in like August. So that way we know like, for example, one student might not be available on Thursdays, but they're available every other day of the week. So then we'll try to coordinate with the school to make more of the school meetings on like Tuesday or Monday or Wednesday, right? And that'll allow us to still have those mentors available during the meetings, right? And then we can also incentivize them with volunteer hours, like I talked about. Many students need to like fill out like a certain threshold of volunteer hours for like clubs, and so like kind of trampolining off of that and making that a way to incentivize them into the program as mentors is something we do a lot. And then showing them the why of the program. So, you know, showing them that the impact that the program can have on young students through like showing them at competitions or, you know, showing them students that have gone through the program and where they are now is a great way to get them to volunteer as well. Okay, and then hurdle number 3 is a lack of funding. So many teams do not have the money to support a youth robotics program. So some potential solutions to that are going to the district for help with funding. So you can get discretionary funds and stipends sometimes, depending on if the district is willing to pay for that. And then utilizing the PTA/school money is also really big. So for example, last year we used one of our elementary schools' PTA money a lot to be able to provide like the field for the year. So that's pretty huge. You can also dip into the team's budget a little bit. So our team pays for a lot of the fields and game elements for our DYR events program that I talked about earlier. And so we can use those fields and game elements into the school's program. You can also slowly build up the number of schools that your program impacts. So, you know, rather than diving in and trying to impact like 10 schools, you can slowly build it up from like 1 and 2, which will allow there to be less like financial strain on your team. And then you can also solicit donations for the specific program. So many members of the community will see the effect that the program can have, and they will donate specifically to like the Davis Youth Robotics or your youth robotics funding. And then you can also leverage other robotics programs. So like I talked about with our events, if you have another youth robotics program that's not in schools, you can use some of those materials and then pour it back into the school's program. For example, a lot of our like VEX IQ kits that we donate to teams come from old like league teams, or youth robotics league teams that have graduated and then donated the kits to us. So that's one example of a way to leverage it. And then,
Just one more source of funding, which for us is huge, is the RoboCamps. So if we actually started a RoboCamps program about the same time we started our schools program. And I don't know if you've looked into starting a RoboCamps program or if you already have one. We actually have a workshop on that, right?
yeah, I think it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday already? Okay. You can go online and see the workshop. But our RoboCamps program currently generates almost half our team's income. I mean, we have a huge revenue from lots and lots of camps. It's grown over several years, but even in the early days, we would use the profits from our RoboCamps program to help fund the schools program.
Okay, and then here's an example of a competition. This will load. Just so you can get a sense of like what the environment is at one of these competitions. And then, okay. Okay, just let it like sit maybe. Okay, here we go. I think it goes on for another minute, of just them being excited. But this is just a great example of the excitement that these students have, and I'm going to go back. Like, go back to the video. I just want to point out some of the students. So this was, I don't even know, 2019 maybe? I just wanted to show you that, like, the students participating in this program then go on to be members of the team. So for example, the person in the blue shirt is our current Impact Award lead. The person in the green shirt is our current front-end scouting lead. The orange shirt is a member of our pit. And so these programs, they set up these students to then go into these FRC teams, and they're just great ways to get these students excited about STEM.